Hello. I want to talk about thought forms and beings and the power of thought forms and the power of words and thoughts and emotions to manifest patterns and for those patterns over time to concretize and manifest egregores, manifest beings, manifest relationships. So let's start with the self. I'm sure you have experience with internal talk, self-talk, manifesting emotional states. Whether you're talking yourself into feeling better about something, whether you are denigrating yourself and making yourself feel small, all of these affect how we act and live in the world, right? Our thought forms have direct effect. Our thought forms cultivate emotional states, and of course, emotional states and thoughts get into a feedback loop with each other. And the stronger that feedback loop is, the stronger the manifestation is in what we might call the real world. I dislike that term, but it's what's coming to me now. So that's how it plays out in ourselves, right? And we can see how that creates a cascade in our lives of patterns. That pattern may be we're able to build ourselves a life that we desire, right? We're able to work our magic, make our commitments, and support ourselves even when we feel afraid or unqualified or any of the other things that might otherwise stop us. And we also see the opposite, right? We see ourselves consistently failing, consistently diminishing our desire, consistently not doing the thing we most want to do, not having the relationships we want to have, not taking the risks we desire, right? So let's move out from self into community, into family, into small working groups, into dealing with your boss at work, into community activism, into dealing with larger political egregores. I'm getting a little ahead of myself here, but they're like nesting eggs. So we see how the way we talk to our friends and family members set up patterns. This sets up expectations. It often sets up assumptions. It can also engage our emotions, which can then feed the thought form, right? The more we talk about something in a certain way, the more we create that thing. And we create it because we're creating and hooking into an emotional response internally, and then hooking into other people's emotional and mental responses, right? So as a group, we start to build a group mind. And that group mind over time becomes a palpable thing. And that can be good. Like, we can want that. It can help support our mission statement, for example. It can also support patterns and cycles of tearing each other down and tearing community apart. And I'm sure we've seen examples of both. One-on-one relationships also form what poet Robert Bly used to call the third body, right? I bring myself, you bring yourself, and together we create something new. Are we creating that with intention? Or is it just being created willy-nilly over time? Every community ends up forming an egregore. An egregore is a magical being that is separate from the individuals. It becomes its own power, its own force in the world. Egregore is a magical construct and a magical concept. when I was living in Oakland and doing a lot of anti-police terror work, I really came to deeply see how strong the egregore of the Oakland Police Department was. And it was an egregore that had been seeded in the 1920s and 1930s, right? So it became almost impossible to change. It's one of those things that you can't change it from within. You can't change it through reasonable means. Something like that actually, in my mind, needs to be wiped out, and we need to start over. That egregore is too strong. And a lot of political and social institutions are that way. It doesn't mean we don't stop trying to shift, because sometimes even minor shifts help with harm reduction. But I'm a radical. I firmly believe that a lot of systems need to be dismantled, and we truly need to rebuild from scratch, because the egregores are too strong. The systems are too strong, and the systems now just run themselves, right? They become a machine that's a perpetual motion machine. I would like us to look at all the ways in which we form patterns, and all the ways in which those patterns form something even stronger. A pattern that feels unbreakable. Have you ever been in a relationship where things have gotten so bad, communication has gone so awry, that you're not even able to hear each other cleanly anymore? Right? We'll often talk about listening or observing someone or something in good faith or bad faith. And it often happens that once bad faith enters the picture, it's really hard to be clean in that relationship and to really assess what the other person actually means and what their intention actually is. We're too colored by the bad faith. And observing and listening and interacting in good faith has the opposite effect. We're able to be more present and assume the best. That sets a very different pattern, and it creates a very different relationship. So what we want to do as a group right now is intentionally create an egregore, intentionally create a magical pattern for a magical being that will support our work together for the time to come. So I invite you to think, what would you like to bring to that magical being in community? What support would you like to foster? What well-being and growth and learning would you like to cultivate? And take a breath and spend some time and think about, and maybe do some writing about, how would I like to cultivate that in myself, in my own daily life, my daily practice, my self-talk, my emotional patterns and habits? And how would I like to bring that to my one-on-one relationships, to my family and my friends, and to all the nesting communities I'm a part of? We can choose to honor ourselves and to honor each other by actively and intentionally building patterns that build a world we desire. Blessed be.